Oh, fantastic. So this is Connecticut Railway and Lighting, bus number 504. This ran in Bridgeport, Connecticut throughout its entire service life. When the CRNL ended up getting leased out to Connecticut Company and later bought by Connecticut Company, this was renumbered to Connecticut Company 3001. And actually, when we go inside, we can see some of the original Connecticut Company 3001 decaling. Connecticut Company later in their life became what we know today as CT Transit. So why don't we go inside? You all ready?
Awesome. Let's
take
do
a
this.
Look. So welcome aboard, once again, Connecticut Railway and Lighting 504. Now, inside the bus, we have a lot of rail bus photos. Now, what is the rail bus? The rail bus was one of these GMC fishbowl-style buses that was converted by the Connecticut Company into what they called a rail bus. They would purchase the GMC fishbowl from GMC, obviously, and would then later send them off to Minnesota at Fairmont, where high rail gears would be installed, and it would actually run on the rails. And actually, if we come over here, we have a perfect photo of where these high rails were located in the bus, just right on the frame, and these ran on the railroad tracks.
Wait, so this isn't a bus?
So not this one, unfortunately.
Okay.
We have it at the Connecticut Fire Museum and Motor Coach Museum in East Windsor, Connecticut. We just want to spread the awareness that a rail bus is still in existence. It is the last remaining rail bus. Unfortunately, it's not this bus. This is the 504, but they're the same style. They were very similar to each other.
So let me get a little bit of a close-up of it. So they would basically put it in where you would put your luggage.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
And I guess hydraulic would lower it down and pick it up off the...
Right, air over hydraulics would operate all of these systems.
And all these advertisements, too, that I'm noticing, what year are these from?
So this bus was built in 1965, and we at the museum tried to keep it just around the 60s and 70s era. Some of these are the original car cards that were featured by different companies when they would purchase these advertisements. Some of them are reproductions from a little bit of the modern era, the 80s into the 90s.
I'm a big fan of the circus. I immediately noticed the Ringling Brothers one back there.
Oh, yes.
As well. Waiting for that truck to go by.
Oh, understood.
So if people come to the show, will they be able to actually walk through the bus?
We've turned this into our walkthrough museum. We're happy to host as many tours as anybody wants. We'll answer any questions as possible. We're just happy to have people here. We're happy to be here at the Amherst Railroad Show this year.
Did you trailer the bus here, or is this still
running? Absolutely. We drove this right from East Windsor. All three of our buses.
You drove this from East Windsor?
100%. We drove this up yesterday. All three of our fleet fishbowl buses are still actively drivable in service.
That is
it's what sets us apart from a lot of other museums is our fleet is all operational. Most of our fire trucks, all operational. But most of our buses, we have 8 buses in our fleet. 7 of them are fully operational. And we take them to parades, on shows. We even take them to lunch some days.
Now, if we go up to where the driver is sitting, is this all, like, original? Is this what the driver would have...
This is exactly what the driver would have sat at and would have operated just as in the 60s when this bus was in service. And you might even notice it doesn't even have a speedometer. These buses, especially this one, it ran Bridgeport to Waterbury. That was its original route. So this bus would not really need to go very fast. This went up and down the hills of Waterbury and as such is geared very low. So this tops out at about 50 miles an hour.
How much, I see the little coin thing there, how much would it cost to ride a bus like this?
The fare was 60 cents. 60 cents is all it would take to run the route. And this is a completely operational fare box.
Oh, that's cool.
And actually sitting right up here, we have an original CRNL Lines cap with one of the original badges. We have a full collection of the CRNL Lines badges, including all 10 of the supervisor badges, which were issued throughout the 60s.
Is this a key thing? What speed limit?
Oh, yes. This is one of our inside jokes here at the Fire Museum. Because this bus really cannot get over 50 miles an hour, it's very hard to speed in one of these vehicles. Not that anybody would.
I'm noticing this, too, to change the out front.
Yep. Every one of our buses has an original destination board that was from either when we received the bus or we purchased and acquired that's original. So all these signboards are Waterbury, Bridgeport, and that surrounding area. So there's Thomaston, Naugatuck, and everywhere up and down that whole route.
And I noticed this isn't refurbished. Like, do you fix them up, or what's the...
So the 3 active fishbowls that we got, we received in fairly good shape. Of course, this one specifically has had a new paint job. The wheels themselves, the rims actually were just painted this past summer. But our buses, we have not found them to be in bad shape when we acquired them. They weren't needed to get too much body work.
And so the goal is to not restore them, right? I mean, the goal is to keep them
as original as possible, to just preserve exactly what these have in an operational sense. The amount of joy that we as volunteers, the museum is an all-volunteer organization, 501c3. We all operate on donations, which is part of the reason why we're here today, is to raise money to keep these buses in service, especially with the price of diesel nowadays.
Right.
It's hard occasionally when we have to make some longer trips. But anyways, like I was saying, the goal is to keep these buses as original as possible. It's why we kept as many of the original car cards as we could, and just even some of the interior decaling.
Does the bell thing work to stop the bus?
It does. Unfortunately, I have the battery disconnected right now just to save the battery charge on it, but all of it works. The majority on this bus specifically, the majority of all the original systems work. The only thing that doesn't is the interior lights, which is the next project we have. Just needs a new inverter. It was the original inverter when this bus was built in 1965, which unfortunately finally failed. So, what's
your role with the museum?
I'm just a volunteer. I'm just one of the many volunteers that we have at the Fire and Motor Coach Museum who operate the buses and restore the buses.
If somebody wanted to volunteer or get more involved, where can they go? Is there online presence, any of that kind of stuff?
There's a few different places. We have a small website with our current contact information. If you would like to come in person, we have volunteer applications and pens at the ready if you would like to sign up when you see us here at the Amherst Railroad Show. Or even on Facebook, you can email us at admin@ctfiremuseum.org.
People are talking in the chat. There are some people that remember these buses, and they're talking about the sound the coins would make as they drop into the coin machine. And
that's one of the goals of the Fire Museum and us as volunteers as a whole, is to just bring back the memories of the bygone era. And of course, on our Facebook, you can see many different photos and examples of our fleet of buses while operating with the trolley cars. We go out for photo shoots with the Trolley Museum very often.
And the Trolley Museum, is that the one that's in here?
Yep. So actually, in the Better Living Center, there's the 3 different trolley museums from Maine and the 2 in Connecticut. We're located on the same property as the Connecticut Trolley Museum in East Windsor. So we're all on the same property. And for the fare to enter the Trolley Museum, you get admission to the Fire Museum at the same time. It's a 2-for-1 deal.
There you go. Oh, that's really cool. Is there any stuff we can see outside as well?
Absolutely.
I just want to. Oh, hold on. I gotta get this too. I'm gonna turn around in a second. You can see there's an original GM sticker, and then there's the original GM plaque. It's amazing that's in great condition.
Yes, we all work very hard to keep the buses in as immaculate of a shape as possible. And of course, some of the decaling becomes a little faded over time, but in our opinion, that just adds to the authenticity of it.
So this is repainted then?
Repainted,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And this is down there, the registration, that's the museum registration then?
So it stands for CAFAA, Connecticut Antique Fire Apparatus Association Incorporated. That's the organizational incorporated name for the Fire Museum.
Now you say fire. Do you have fire trucks?
We have 16 fire trucks in our fleet. So on top of these transit buses, we have 16 fire trucks in our fleet, ranging from 1975 to the early 1920s, including a 1920s ladder tiller truck, which still runs to this day.
So what is the focus or the mission of the organization then? It's not just the bus transportation stuff. It sounds like it's a little bigger than that.
It's also the historical context of firefighting vehicles, not particularly firefighting in the sense of the tools and equipment such as Halligan bars and other air packing equipment, but specifically just historically relevant fire apparatus. We actually, for those of you who may be interested in fire trucks as well, we have the first model serial number 001 of the Century series, which is one of the most commercially available apparatus back in the early 70s. American LaFrance.
Did you get in it through the firefighting or through the buses?
I got through it through the Trolley Museum. I began at the Trolley Museum in 2016, and eventually I propagated over to the Fire Museum and Motor Coach Museum as well.
I want to go check out. I love the lights on these older vehicles. Just that front grille.
Yes.
Like they don't make them like, oh, even look at this, the way the windshield wiper is even connected, and the way I'm looking at the angles of this.
Yes, so that's the reason they were called fishbowl buses, is just because from the outside the driver looks like they're sitting in a fishbowl.
Yeah, that's so cool. And are these original or reproduction? These grills and stuff.
I believe, to my knowledge, the majority of these are original. I believe the actual vent cover was replaced from something in our stock.
Right.
Our
Yeah.
stock GM parts.
Yeah.
But the vast majority was original, or at least repainted.
And I love this special. You can tell that's an original one too. Like just
it's an original scroll sign.
Yeah.
We have it destinations, like I said, Thomaston, Naugatuck, Express.
Do you have to do anything to these buses to make them street legal with modern regulations or anything, or are they, because of their age, they're good to go?
Since they're registered as an antique, as long as we maintain them,
yeah,
they're operational. They're all fully insured.
So if you were a bus driver back in the day, this, compared to the new rear view mirror or side mirrors, I'm just looking at how tiny this thing is.
Oh yes, speaking from somebody who drives these for the museum fairly regularly, seeing out of the driver's side mirror is not a challenge, but it's certainly something to get used to, as a lot of us are used to our regular car mirrors.
I don't know that I'd want to change lanes.
It takes a lot of training and practice at our lot before we allow any newer drivers to come take them on the street.
So there is a training program before people can drive these, but volunteers are allowed to train to drive them.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It's part of the experience of becoming a volunteer, and we have many different positions. It's not all mechanics work and operating these vehicles. We have a lot of paint work that needs to be done, even just painting the sides of the buses and our various displays. Right now, we're currently undergoing a process of updating all of our displays, which is a lot of paint work. We're looking for carpentry, for woodwork. There's a ton of different positions at the Fire Museum.
One more time before we go, how can people find you guys if they're interested in getting more info?
The first way is by coming here to the Amherst Railroad Show and signing up with us in person. We have applications and pens here on board our bus when you can come through and enjoy our rolling museum. You can also reach out to us on Facebook via a direct message or our email address, which is admin@ctfiremuseum.org.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.